he just scolded me all the way down there because I wouldn't listen. He's like, I don't know why you can't just walk across the street. I mean, there's a judge right there. I walk out to you. I tell you to show up. I walk in there, tell the judge to let you go, and then you're supposed to walk across the street, and you don't walk across the street. I'm like, I don't know why. And honestly, I couldn't tell him why I never showed up either. This story gets really good, though. So, the judge is so, like, flabbergasted, appalled, completely shook up that I got a GED in Yakima County Jail. Like, that's rare. And it's not even, a guard's got to volunteer for it, you know? So, thank God for that guard. But he couldn't believe it. And he just releases me. But when he signs the paperwork to release me, he just gets rid of all of it. He gets rid of me off of felony probation, off of everything. And I didn't know it at that moment. I had no idea. I just thought it was a regular day, so I didn't show up. Like, I walked out, and then I walked home. I went from the jail to 24th and Tieton. I think I was there like a couple minutes, like, you know, looking for a cigarette, and Brian Ensman shows up the same day. He's like, dude, I told you to walk across the street, and you can't even walk across the street? Like, you just got out. And he was mad. So he collects me, and this is like the 50th time this man has been at my house, you know. I get inside of his car, and he scolds me, and he lets me have a cigarette. I'm happy about that. I'm smoking a cigarette. But I'm going back to jail. Like, I just got out, but I'm going back for a probation violation because I was supposed to report. And that's a probation violation if you don't report. And that's 40 days. That's 40 days. That is good time. I mean, there's really not any good time, or there wasn't at the time any good time or bad time with that. On a regular charge, you could get good time, which is like 2/3. You would do 2/3 of your time and 1/3 off for being good. But with a probation violation, every time you gave me 40 days, I got 40 days. It was 40 damn days, and it did it a lot. And so, I mean, I just get out, I barely breathe fresh air for 2 seconds, and this man's back, and I fucked up. I'm like, oh man. So I can I have a cigarette, because I think it's the last damn cigarette I'm getting for 40 days, and the only one I've had in the last 40 days. So he drives me down to the probation office, brings me into his room. He's talking to me. He's like, what? I can't believe this. And he's looking at my file, and there's something wrong. Something completely wrong. I didn't know what was going on. I'm just kind of sitting there, just with a whole bunch of shut the fuck up. So I don't have anything smart to say at this point. I can't fucking listen to him, and I don't know why. Because, I mean, literally it's a couple 100 feet from the door. I could have just walked out, said hi to him, and he would have scolded me there, and then I could have left, and then I wouldn't be in trouble. But I just had to go get 40 more days in jail to be dumbass because I want to walk across the street. I don't know. Anyway, he gets really frustrated, and he's like, wait here, and he gets up, and he leaves the room. And so I'm just sitting there, and I got shit to say. I just was like, fuck, oh well, you know. And he went to go talk to his supervisor. So he's gone like 5 minutes or so. Then he comes at me, and he's like, come with me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get up, and I follow him down the hallway, and then he drags me into his supervisor's office. So it's like, all right, so this is a probation officer. I mean, this is pretty much a full-fledged officer. I mean, they carry guns, and they got badges, and the whole 9 yards. He brings me into the higher up the food chain cop. And I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just like, oh, fuck, now what did I do? You know, like, oh, shit. And I go in there, and I sit down, and I'm like, oh, fuck. I was like, did you know about this? And I'm like, know about what, sir? You know, and I'm like, it's getting worse by the second. I'm like, I don't know how I got into this office, but I didn't like it. I'm like, oh, man. He's like, did you know anything about this? And I'm like, about what, sir? And he says, well, apparently you're released off of probation. When that judge signed your order from the prosecuting attorney, he released you from supervision. He shut the whole case down. And I was like, what do you mean shut it down? Like, what does that mean? And he's just like, well, you're no longer on probation. Obviously, any of your probation fines will be sent to collections, which you never made a payment, so it's all going to collections. And at that time, and the reason why is that I couldn't hold a job to save my life. But anyway, he was just like, he didn't know anything about it. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. They had me on a bunch of medication while I was in that courtroom, and I just go in there and I just say yes, Your Honor, and then I leave. I don't really know what's going on in there. I mean, that's court. I'm not very smart at court. And he goes, well, you're no longer on felony supervision. And then he turns to the man B. I'm gonna call him. Turns to B and's like, hey, you're not allowed to pick people up. You need to check files before you go pick people up, and that's you just can't pick people up that aren't on supervision. And he screamed at him. Like, I mean, this man got his ass chewed. He left him with half of his ass because he had to give me a ride home. He said, give him a cigarette. You, Mr. Wilkes, you're free to go. Go stand outside. He's going to give you a ride home. And I'm like, what? A cigarette? Go stand outside? I get to go home? Yes. So I'm like, he gives me a cigarette, and then I go outside, I light it, and I smoke the cigarette, and I'm standing out there. And then he comes out the door, and he's all pissed off, and he's just like, get in the car. I'm like, all right. So we get in the car, and he tries to, well, did you know anything about this? I'm like, know anything about what? I'm trying to keep criminals off the street, and doing everything I can to keep criminals off the street, and all this stuff. And then the judges, they're just letting him go, and I can't do anything about it. And he did that shit all the way home until, like, he pulls up to my driveway, and I hop out, and I'm just, like, waving at him, like, have a motherfucking life. And then he went. Now, I'm not saying that's not the last time I was in trouble, because I was in trouble a lot. But I'll tell you what, felony probation is an absolute bitch. You got these people. I did so much more time than the original charge, because like I said, I never paid my fines and I never showed up. So that means every single time I was getting thrown in jail. And not to mention, all I was really good at was getting loaded, and using street drugs wasn't a really good thing to put on a resume anyway. Nobody was giving me no job. I'd lost my ability to really work because I really couldn't show up on time and do that stuff. I was too busy getting loaded. Anyhow, there you have it. So it's free for a minute. Kind of gonna wrap up this jail thing. I really don't like jail. Jail sucks. I think that was one of the worst things that I ever had to go through, was probably jail. And rightly so. I mean, it's a consequence for my behavior. I don't recommend it for anybody. It's really not funny. And it was right, I got thrown in jail every time that I did.